Hi, my name is Nancy. Welcome to my channel, Running with Scissors. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to show you the first of 4 Easter dresses that I'm making for my granddaughters. If that sounds interesting to you, don't go away. Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room for starting this wonderful hashtag that we can all get together and share our makes and what we want to make, and a little bit about life in between. Okay, if you watched last week, I showed you some fabric that I wanted to make for the first Easter dress. And here's just a little bit of it. This satin, look at this. I tell you what, it frayed like crazy. I mean, look at the fraying on this. Let me hold it up. See that? Yep, it frayed. But it's very pretty. And then this was the overskirt fabric I was using. Let me tell you something a little funny about that. Remember I had showed you in the Simplicity book that I had got from Hobby Lobby? And I was looking for a pattern because the pattern I was going to use I had bought at a thrift store and the directions weren't in it, and since I was doing an overlay I really wanted to have some direction. So I got in the book and I found this pattern right here. I thought, perfect pattern. So broke down the number, went to my Joann's, opened the drawer, and there was this pattern, but also there was this pattern. It's the same pattern, same number, same everything. It's just they have 2 different little girls on the cover. Well, I already had this pattern. It was in my pattern stash. And since they both in the drawer, then I recognized this is my own pattern. If they'd only had this in the drawer, I would have gone ahead and bought it. And I don't think I'd have realized I had that pattern till I went to put it in a manila envelope and numbered it and went to put it up, and then I would have found that I already had a pattern like that. But since they were both there and I recognized I already had this pattern, I didn't have to buy it. So I don't know why they confuse us like that. Because it is the same pattern, just two different little adorable girls on the cover. Okay, now, before I show you the dress, I did have some issues, and I'm going to describe them all to you. When you see the dress, you're going to say, well, it doesn't look like it'd be that difficult, but let me show it to you. And here she is. And there she is. Now, what I like about this pattern, there's a lot of options for it. You can make it sleeveless. You can make it with the big puff sleeves with the band, or these sleeves. Now, I made these. Let me take it off the hanger. The hanger's really too big for the dress. I don't know what you would call them, but to me they kind of look like tulip sleeves. See how they go like that? I mean, I guess you call those tulip sleeves. Okay. And they're doubled, so you know there's the you double them up so that you don't see the underside of the fabric. Well, there's a couple of things I did different with this dress. One was I never sewn with satin. I never done an overlay, a lace overlay or netting overlay. But I decided, I remember I mentioned last week that this dress really probably would need some French seams, especially since it frays so much. Well, I never done French seams before, and I think they're pretty cut and dry. But then I had this idea, I wonder if I could do them for the sleeves, and I did. Now, this is a little girl's dress, so doing a French seams on an adult, armhole would be certainly easier to do. But I did do it, and I don't know, I'm pretty proud of it. Give you a look at the inside of my sleeves. And if you notice too, the lining is a different color than the outside, and I'll tell you why. I bought the fabric over at Joann's, and I wasn't even thinking that it would need a lining. And then after I cut it out, I didn't have enough. I didn't want to go all the way back to Joann's. It's about 8 miles away. but the Hobby Lobby is maybe 2 miles away. And so I just went ahead and bought some more for the lining. It's not the same color pink, but who cares? It's on the inside, and it kind of gives you a little surprise when you unzip the dress. So one thing I haven't done yet, if you notice, I'm going to save that for later, is I need to slip stitch the lining to the bodice, and I haven't done that yet. I'm going to save that for watching TV, that type of thing. So that's one thing that does need to be done. Now, I did do the French seams on the side seams. On the side seams. But I wasn't sure about doing them where there's a zipper going in, so I just serged those. Okay. All right. Now, the zipper. The pattern did not call for a invisible zipper, it called just for a regular zipper, and I thought, you know, I really think this dress needs an invisible zipper. I just do. I mean, look at this. I think it just gives it more of a finished look if it has an invisible zipper. I think it does anyway. Well, here's the invisible zipper issue. I probably wouldn't have put one in if it hadn't been that I hadn't never done them before, but I had. But I had never done an invisible zipper when there's all this many layers and when there's this netting. So I still have to take out the basting. But so I basted it in, and for some reason, basically the zipper tape on one side was higher than the other. So I took out the basting, which is why you always want to baste. Then I basted again. I was really careful to make sure that the seams were even. Did that, and then the neckline wasn't even. One was way up here, and one was way down there. I thought, oh, for heaven's sake. So took out the basting again. This time I didn't worry about whether this matched, you know, the seams matched. I made sure that this was even. And do you know, when I made sure this was even, that actually matches. Who knows what happened there. So then, after everything looked really good, it's time to go ahead and sew it in for real. So I did, and then I couldn't get it to zip up over the netting. And it was the netting had kind of got caught in the teeth, and I realized I probably had sewn a little bit too close. So what I did was I went ahead and unpicked just up to the bodice, because maybe the bodice was okay. So I unpicked up the bodice, and then I pulled the zipper up, and the zipper went up great to the bodice. So it wasn't any problem with that. It was just, you know, the netting was too close. So what I did was I pinned it back, and I just moved the needle over on the machine, just over just a little bit. You know, you don't want too much, or then it won't be invisible. So I moved it over just a little bitty bit, and it worked fine. So I do find, though, with invisible zippers, I don't know if you find the same thing, is that they, especially when you're going over, you know, layers of fabric, or especially when you're going over the bodice to the skirt, sometimes you have to really yank a little harder to get it up. But it goes up and it goes down. So yeah, I spent some time on that zipper, but I really think it needed an invisible zip and not a regular zipper. So another thing about this dress is the dresses on the pictures show a plain netting, and so because I did a plain netting, one of the dresses they put some lace down at the bottom of the dress, you know, below the netting, and one of the dresses they actually put some lace around the waist. But I decided I didn't need to do that because they used the plain netting, and this netting, of course, has flowers on it, and I don't think it needed anything extra. So what I did, and I left off the sash because sashes are always coming untied, so I left that off. But I decided I didn't need to do any kind of extra embellishments because all the embellishments, all the design was in the netting. So what I did was I made a 2-inch hem. The pattern called for a 3-inch hem, and I think because of the pattern that was going to use a little bit of a lace going around the end, the edge of the hem, and where I wasn't going to do that. So what I did was I went ahead and did a 2-inch hem. I did not want to do this by hand. I just did not. I don't enjoy hand sewing, so my idea was I'll go ahead and put in my hem, and then for the netting, I will have about an inch of the bottom skirt showing. So you have an inch of it showing, but the netting covers the stitching from the hem. So I can't decide if that's genius or just pure laziness on my part. Probably more laziness, but I thought just an inch hanging out would be pretty. And of course, like I said, it covers the stitching that I did, because I certainly didn't want to do that by hand. I am going to have to do a little bit of hand stitching. As I said, I'm going to have to slip stitch the lining down. I need to put a hook and eye at the top, and there's still a little bit of the basting. Speaking of basting, if you watch my video from when I made the corduroy jumper, and I had mentioned that I couldn't see the basting because it matched so closely, well, one of my viewers suggested using a contrast color for the basting so you can see it. And I'm thinking, why in the world did I think of that? It just makes so much sense. That's something I want to say I enjoy about watching all the sewists and the comments that I get. You get a lot of really great tips and tricks. And some of them just make so much sense, and you're thinking, well, why didn't I think of that? And so when I did the basting, I did it in a darker color, so now I can see exactly what I'm picking out. I thought, for heaven's sakes. And then I had a couple of other viewers mention when I was talking about my serger and how I bought all those different colors and having them all the same color. And I had two different people tell me that you really only need to have maybe a matching color on the needle part of the serger, and you could have any other color you wanted, white or whatever other color you wanted on the loopers. And I thought, well, that makes sense too. So that's why it's really cool to get these comments. People will tell you things that work for them. You have a problem and say, I can't figure this out. And there's always somebody that's going to say, try this, it works for me. Try that. And some of them, like the basting with the darker thread, I don't know why I didn't think of that. It just makes too much sense, I guess. So anyway, so this dress is ready to go. Other than, the little busy work I have to do at the end of it. This is going to be the fancy dress. I'm not only going to do one fancy dress. Last year I did that dress for the other her cousin, and I put all that tulle underneath of it, and that was my fancy dress. And this is the one for this year. The others are going to be a little more simpler. I mean, they're going to be pretty, of course, but I'm not going to go into all this craziness. I don't think I can handle making another one of these in a row. So that's the dress I have, and yeah, I really like it. I think it came out really pretty, and I do have to tell you, she's 5. Last night, I wanted her to try it on. I didn't have the zipper in yet, but I was able to just put it on her and kind of clip it because I want to see where the length was. Well, if you notice the girl in the picture, I think this dress goes down to the floor, and I think she's a flower girl in a wedding, and that's why the dress is so long, and that's why when I showed you this fabric, this is how much I had to cut off the dress and off of the netting. But anyway, I held the dress up to her, and I asked her what she thought of it. She's really funny. She likes to say, well, she says that a lot. So I held up the dress and said, what do you think about this dress? And she goes, well, it's pretty. And I said, well, that's good because it's your Easter dress. So we tried it on. Like I said, it hit the floor. So she and her mother and I, we figured out where we wanted it, and we want it past the knees. So also too, the last couple years I've been doing a size 4 on her. She's just a little bitty thing, and so when I remeasured her, I sized up to a 5, and it's good that I did. She needed the 5 and not the 4 anymore. So, okay, that's this dress, and I'll be starting on a new one. And remember, the one cousin told me last week she wanted her dress in periwinkle. I did look that up, but it's more of a lavender, so we'll see what we can find. Maybe I'll just take her to Joann's because she lives just down the road, maybe 2-3 miles from Joann's, and run her in there and maybe let her take a look at the fabric and see if she sees something that she likes better. Okay, one last thing. Last week I meant to show you the painting I had been talking about that I painted, and then I totally forgot to show it to you. Now, you may have already seen the painting because my teenage granddaughter showed me how to do a short where you'll have a blank canvas and you tap it with your brush, and then all of a sudden there's the painting. She showed me how to do that. Some of you may have already seen that. If not, I do want to show you my painting. I'm pretty proud of it. There it is. I got my two little birdies, and they're in the little bird feeder in the snow. There was a bird over here, but he was too big and he looked angry, and he looked like he was going to eat the other two birds. And instead of trying to fix him, I shooed him away. I said, "You go away. You already had enough to eat." And I just left it with the two birds. So that's the one that I did. I'm going to wait a while to paint anymore. I've got to finish those dresses. So once I get the Easter dresses all out of the way, then I'll probably start another painting. So anyway, that's my birdies in the snow. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come over to my channel and listen to my ramblings. I would love it if you would subscribe if you haven't already, and give me a thumbs up and ring the little notification bell. That'd be great. Help me grow my channel. And I appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you again soon. You take care. God bless.